More troops will be heading to Afghanistan soon. According to the White House, President Obama has approved an increase of thousands more troops, including a Marine Expeditionary Brigade this spring and an Army Striker Brigade in the summer. The White House says the increase in troops will help stabilize a deteriorating situation, but does not predetermine the outcome of a strategic review of policy there. Pending demand for troops in Afghanistan and the need to maintain sufficient force levels in Europe could mean a change in plans for some of the Army's brigade combat teams. According to the commander of U.S. Army forces in Europe, force levels are currently at about 42,000 soldiers. A third of those, General Carter Ham says, are deployed outside the region in Iraq and Afghanistan primarily.
My recommendation to General Craddock, who is my operational boss, is to reconsider the decision for the two brigades that are scheduled to come back to the U.S. in 12 and 13 and see does it make more sense for them to stay in Europe. We talk a lot about building partner capacity. That, for us, that's much more than just words. It is a very real mission, and sometimes the only way you can really do that is to have U.S. forces that can partner with our European forces. So we'd like to have some additional forces to do that.
General Ham says current and future demands on force levels will also impact plans to extend dwell times. U.S. Navy officials are praising the work of the coalition warships in the ongoing battle against Somali pirates in the Gulf of Aden. Countries as diverse as India, France, China, and Russia have sent ships to help patrol the waters off the coast of Somalia, which have become a focal point for piracy. But Rear Admiral Terence McKnight says piracy in the region won't be controlled without strong leadership from the Somali government.
We're not going to stop piracy out here in the high seas. The key to stopping piracy is on Somalia. They're coming from Somalia. We need an established government there and some type of Coast Guard or minor defense organization that if we can prevent them from coming out there and actually patrol their waters themselves.
The U.S. Navy has arrested at least 16 pirates since anti-piracy operations in the Gulf of Aden began last month. Officials say the number of pirate attacks has remained steady, but their success rate has fallen to below 30%. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton signed an agreement with Japan Tuesday to move 8,000 Marines off the southern Japanese island of Okinawa to the U.S. territory of Guam. This plan has been agreed on since 2006, but several major points remained in debate, including the cost of the realignment plan, which is estimated at about $15 billion. In today's agreement, Japan pledged $2.8 billion for the move and solidified plans to relocate a Marine Corps air station that will remain on Okinawa after the transfer. Multinational Force Iraq and the government of Iraq reached another milestone this past week. The total population of detainees in coalition custody dropped to 14,500. Task Force 134 detainee operations began releasing an average of 50 detainees a day this month in accordance with the security agreement between the U.S. and Iraq. The agreement requires all detainees be released safely and orderly or transferred to Iraqi custody. Those released this month mark the first group of case files that were reviewed by Iraqi authorities under the security agreement. Meantime, Iraqis are continuing to make gains securing their nation, and one of the groups responsible for those gains are also securing their own job futures. Master Sergeant George Maurer has more details from our Pentagon Bureau.
According to Colonel Pyatt, there are some 9,000 members of the organization, and he says when he talks to the members of the group, he calls them much more than sons of Iraq. He calls them fathers of freedom.
We would not have been able to have the security gains that we have in Saladin province had it not been for the Sons of Iraq.
The Sons of Iraq will be registered during March to begin the transition into other jobs, according to Colonel Pyatt. He says he expects 1/3 will work for the Iraqi security forces or the Iraqi Army, and the rest will be taught a trade through vocational schools. Right now, oversight of the Sons of Iraq is shared by the Iraqi Army and the U.S. Army. The Iraqi Army is scheduled to have complete oversight by May 1st. Reporting from the Pentagon, I'm Air Force Master Sergeant George Maurer.
A group of Houston mothers is going the extra mile to make sure their sons and daughters serving halfway around the world are getting what they need. The group is called Houston Marine Moms, and they donate their time and money to give their Marines basic supplies which many take for granted. The Houston Marine Moms ship anything from Band-Aids to bedding, giving their Marines a little taste of home. Coming up next on Around the Services, helping kids understand deployment, how one 6-year-old is learning to cope. But first, a new exhibit at the National Gallery of Art is honoring an historic unit that dates back to the Emancipation Proclamation. We'll take a closer look. Stick around. Petty Officer Liz Murray is back with more.